Okay, just a little short talk here on something called STP. STP actually means standard temperature and pressure. And so the story basically is that, chemists are doing experiments all over the world under very different conditions, different pressures, different temperatures, and so forth. But when they report them, they have to standardize it. So it has to be under the conventional conditions that everyone can use. And we decided to do something called standard conditions. And what standard conditions are is you report all your results as if your temperature was 0 degrees Celsius, or what we know as 273 Kelvin, and pressure would be 1 atmosphere pressure. So these two guys are considered to be the temperature and pressure under standard conditions. The volumes could change, but standard will always mean 273 degrees Kelvin and 1 atmosphere pressure. So let me show you a simple way you can use this. So let's suppose we have a problem where we have a gas, and suppose we have 2 liters of the gas, so that's going to be our volume, and it's at a pressure of 4 atmospheres and a temperature of 300 degrees Kelvin. Now, how would that chemist report these results? You'd have to report them under standard temperature and pressure. So how do you do that? Well, you use the equation that we learned yesterday. This is the combined law. Remember, the starting conditions, P1, V1, and T1, equals the final conditions, P2, V2, and T2. So let's go ahead and fill it out. What are the conditions we know of the gas? Well, we know that the pressure is 4. There's our pressure right there. And we know that the volume is what? 2? So 2 liters, right? And we know that the temperature of that gas was 300. Now it's important that the units all be correct. So liters, atmospheres, and Kelvin. If it was in Celsius, you'd have to switch it. If it was in milliliters, you'd have to switch it, right? So we got to have the right units. Now we want to convert this to what would be the conditions under STP. Well, so what is the pressure under STP? It's 1. What is the volume under STP? We don't know that. That's what we're trying to figure out. But what is the temperature under STP? 273. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our little trick here. Let's cross multiply. So these guys, right? We're going to multiply by these guys here. So 4 times 2, that's 8. And what do we get here? 8 times 273. 8 times 273 is 2,184. So 2,184. And that's going to equal, and then we cross multiply the other guys. So 300 times 1 times V2. Don't need a calculator for that. That's 300 times V2. Okay. We want to figure out V2, so we have to undo the multiplication of 300. So we're going to go ahead and divide by 300. You always divide by the number in front of the variable. So we divide by 300. Sorry about that terrible looking 3. And that means it's 2,184 divided by 300. Let's do that one. 2,184 divided by 300. That gives me an answer of 7. Was that 28? Can't remember what it was. 7.28 or 7.18? Something like that. And that is in liters, right? So that's how we do it. So this guy would say that even though I was working with a gas under unconventional conditions, if I go ahead and convert it to conventional standard conditions, the volume would not be 2 liters, it would be 7.28 liters, and that's how the guy would report his results.